Hi everyone, Stick and Stones here. Today I want to talk about Heart and Bones, Love Song for the Late Youth by Lofi. Heart and Bones is an amazing collection of short stories. Mother's Day, the first story, tells the story of a woman who married a very rich man. She has grown up since and felt imposter syndrome abroad where she's at. Her mother, someone who didn't have much, can't support herself anymore in her old age, having to feel ashamed on having to get help from her daughter's husband, and we see the relation of the mother and her daughter who wanted her mother approval most of all about where she's at, but she just don't know how to go about it. We stayed on the wall for a long time, feeling the sun and wind flicker across our faces, and I tried to think of some words that would help us cross the river together to go home. My first Marina tells the story of a woman who reminisces about her younger and dumber days. She went out with boys who don't appreciate her, she goes out with men twice her age, she calls her best friend to take her own life. She has now grown up, had a daughter, and named her daughter with the name of her late best friend. She didn't want to do things to see what would happen. She had too much integrity. She wanted to be rooted in something. Blackbirds tells the story of a brother and sister who live in a small village with their neglectful parents. The stories are separated into two parts, with the first part tells the story of the brother growing up being the person who takes care of her sister but not achieving anything at school, not like her sister. Then the second part tells the story of the sister. Now all grown up, she's coming back home with her daughter after her divorce. She felt weary. She had done so much work to keep herself together, and it was painful to be reminded that keeping herself together was only the smallest part of her job now. She will never be able to ensure her children were okay. She will never know what it felt like to be them. Feathers tells the story of Joanna, someone who's afraid of flight, but her lover is abroad, and it was during one of her visits there that she found out that he's not worth it. She felt that revulsion towards herself that she tried hard to keep under wraps. The disgust she felt at her body, the contempt she had for her plainness. She did not approve of caring too much about looks. It did not do for someone who looked like her to care too much about looks. First Time tells the story of a young boy and young girl experience being a couple, being in love for the first time in their life. She was the youngest of four, three older sisters, equally formidable. But she had the wonderful luxury of learning from their mistakes. She was the most enchanted creature in the forest. Childcare tells the story of Julia, a 10-year-old girl whose mother can be bothered to take care of her, so her grandma is desperate to take her away. She was surprised by the moral certainty her peers exhibited as to their place in the world. They always knew the best version of whatever game they were playing. They always had brothers or sisters or cousins who could back up their version of events. For Julia, life was unpredictable. Grown-ups could do anything and children had to follow along. The doll tells the story of Dar, an inexperienced and insecure man who, while on a relationship with someone he thinks is too good for him, broke a ventriloquist doll. The doll became a negative voice of all his negative thoughts. Stuart would sit alongside him making vicious comments about the person Dar was impersonating, or after a while, his actual impersonation. That then evolved into Stuart making vicious comments about Dar himself, and so it soon became that Dar would carry around a doll whose only function was to undercut everything he said with sarcasm, vitriol, or just plain aggression. The story then continues, this time from the perspective of Dar's mother as she struggled to make her son see the good in him. Motherhood had ways of making you pay. She knew that. Everyone she knew that. It then continues further this time from AOV, as we see how her progress and Dar's progress in their own life bring them back together. Why couldn't Dar just be happy with who he was? That's why she had to end it. She couldn't bear to see him struggle to become this other thing. Struggling to be something you were not was grotesquely embarrassing enough, but to struggle to be like Stuart was just pathetic. Currency is a story about a girl, a coin, and the boy she wants to love her. The month of June arrived. It is examination season. You and Sam and Anna are much concerned with these examinations. You have no time for love, nor does he. Good for You, Cecilia tells the story of a woman who went to Dublin with her mother for her sister's show. Emily liked to insist upon her ordinariness, which was easy for her being so extraordinary. It was exhausting, contradictory, and irritating. Self-aggrandizement through humility. And yet she managed. She really did. Lastly, Heart and Bones, the title of the book, which is named after the song, tells the story of Nell, a young girl who are finding her identity and started to do things that makes her popular to fit in. Although she questioned the things she did because it doesn't seem to matter much, but she kept at it, then she made a mistake. Other people didn't seem to mind these inconsistencies, but they troubled me. I always felt like I was missing something, that the bigger picture was beyond me. The movement was an attempt to deal with that. It was an attempt to see, to reach for the truth or a truth. In later years, it felt like forgiveness to tell myself that. The book is an amazing short story collection, like I said, telling the story of inexperienced people at the turning point of their life. Mother's Day, for example, the first story, the woman who just found out she was pregnant with her third child when she met her mother, hoping that she and her mother can be closer, but what comes out is only hurtful words. All these small stories seems grander and insignificant at the same time, just as experience for the inexperienced tends to do. It's a great short story collection and I recommend it. That's about it.